What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tsla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward. Some big news involving some big banks, which you should be watching for on the charts, especially as we approach tomorrow. But before I begin into double this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a few things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Put in $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. Not to mention free level 2 data with $0 of commission trading. The offer ends in just about 2 weeks from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's talk about what's going on with the markets. Right now, SPY is in a very, very critical place. The market is kind of indecisive, and I wanted to actually break this down. So look at the last couple of days. SPY had this big rally from 555 all the way into the 564 area. Then we rejected, went back up, then we rejected, then we went back up, then we rejected. So it's going back and forth and back and forth. We're constantly getting these rejections and these pumps on SPY. The pump and dump market has begun. SPY is also trying to determine if we're about to see a big pump or a big rug pull. I think that's what's going to be happening over the next couple of days. The move is going to be made. Now we have this nice little uptrend that's being established right over here. And I just want to make it very clear that we have a very, very important range to watch for on SPY. And it's going to give us the main idea, the hint you need to know to determine if this thing's about to get a rug pull or not. So I'm going to give you guys the answer. Is it about to happen? What levels should you be watching for to determine this? And that's going to be very important for our analysis for the day. But I first want to talk about some data just real quick before I break down these charts. Just as a very, very important reminder, we had Jerome Powell's speech today. He didn't really say much. He said that the Fed is going to cut rates before we hit a 2% inflation rate because of the fact that there's a lag effect when it comes to the way in which the economy reacts to interest rates. And that's actually very, very key in a lot of economic studies. It could take as much as like 12 or even like up to 18 months. So we get a lot of massive reactions to these rate hikes. So the Fed was raising rates for over a year now. It's been a long time. And now the effects to the economy are starting to really show. It could even be even more delayed than it could have been because of all the liquidity that's been driven into the markets, into the economy and such. But nonetheless, Jerome Powell was saying the same things. What's interesting is the market actually pumped, especially after the news over the weekend. The market was pumping, and then once Jerome Powell started speaking, the market actually, excuse me, that market actually started to dip quite a bit before getting bought back up at the very end of the day. So I'll break down more details about this as well. I also wanted to kind of like talk about this news one more time. I know I've been talking about this all day, but a lot of people haven't really seen my morning videos. Most people actually watch my afternoon videos. So I just wanted to kind of clarify the news that happened over the weekend. So there was a very, very tragic piece of news that happened, right? There was this attempt to hurt a former president. And this could have led to just something, much, much scarier, much, much crazier. I just want to say this, guys. I don't want to get political. I don't want to take any sides. I just want to say that, I wish the best for both the left and the right. I wish good health for, former President Trump and also Joe Biden. I just want the best for everyone. No matter which side you're on, you could all agree that violence is never the answer. We're all Americans here. We're all brothers and sisters, and we're here for the best for one another. So I just want to say that I condemn any violence. It's never okay. And it was great. I'm very grateful to hear that former President Trump is okay after all this news. I'm not picking any sides, saying anything like that. I'm just trying to say that the healths of our leaders are very, very important, and I just want the best for everyone. So this was very important news because a Trump presidency would lead to a lot of changes in a lot of policies out there when it comes to taxation and regulation. And whether or not some tragedy happens will affect that. That's one big factor, not to mention a bunch of different things when it comes to sentiments in America, division and things like that. But I just want to say this, okay? President Trump is fine. I'm very, very grateful that he's okay. I wish the best for him and also President Joe Biden, and I want the election to be very, very fair and clean. We don't really want anything like this to happen again. So I just hope that the US's Secret Services just take advantage of this opportunity to learn from their mistakes and to really, really grow. But with that being said, with this happening, the market actually had a more positive reaction upon opening. We actually saw the market pump quite a bit, but then the market started to kind of reject and actually dumped quite a bit after Jerome Powell's speech before it got bought back up at the very end of the day and during the after hours. So it's a pump and dump market. The market likes to pump and dump and pump and dump. It's been happening for 3 days in a row. So we'll see if that ends up being the case for tomorrow. But we have a nice uptrend being established on SPY. And we'll see which way we end up going, at least based off this. Now, for earnings, as a reminder, for tomorrow, we have Bank of America, not to mention Morgan Stanley and Charles Schwab. Lots of big bank earnings come out for tomorrow. For Wednesday, we have ASML, not to mention Johnson Johnson and Ally Bank. And then for Thursday, we have TSMC, not to mention Netflix and a few others. But the most important thing to be watching for would be the earnings coming out for tomorrow, just for now. Not to mention a few that just came out right now. So we had Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, and First Bank. Goldman Sachs did very, very well. They actually beat on EPS and revenue, and their second quarter profit jumped over 150%. Not to mention revenue growing over 17%. Fixed income was a very, very important metric, which did relatively well for them. So that's a good piece of news for Goldman Sachs. That's why the share price is up a little bit. Now, for First Bank, on the other hand, earnings were like pretty good, kind of mixed, not too horrible, not too great. I would say so. You guys can see when it comes to their financial estimates, net income was about $40 million, with EPS being so. Loans held for investment at about $9.31 billion, but we had some good and bad news. Net income is up about $40 million, which is not bad. Their net interest margins have improved by about 3.57%, but some bad news came out, which is the fact that their total deposits have decreased to about $10.47 billion, and non-performing loans are also once again increasing as well. So not too good news, at least from those ends. And then when it comes to the fear and greed index, right now greed is making up the majority of sentiment. Momentum is still extremely greedy as we're still holding well above our moving averages. The market's still holding up. And the put to call option positioning is now still continuing to be down here from the last 5 days on average, which is showing that right now there's still a lot of these basically calls making up the majority of positions, at least for now, for the last 5 days. The VIX is attempting to break out above its 50 daily moving average, but still not much of a breakout. It's just still like in the 13 area. I want to see like a much stronger move, and I need to see it hold above that for that to remain bullish, which could actually cause a rug pull in the markets. So we'll see. So what is my view of the market, guys? Honestly, guys, it's very, very tricky. So we had all this news coming out. We had the news about former President Trump, which led to a nice little rally in the morning, but then Jerome Powell's speech caused a rug pull. And like I said earlier, it's a pump and dump market. The market pumped and then dumped on Thursday, pumped and dumped on Friday, pumped and dumped today. So it's continuing to do this again and again and again. That's the pattern so far, and it's very probable we might see something similar tomorrow. But at the end of the day, we've been stuck in a range for the most part on SPY. Besides this little dump right here, we've actually been stuck between 560 and 565 for the last like 3 days for the most part. So it's still range bound. So with this wedge forming, if we do get a little pump, we need to see SPY break 565 to turn bullish. If that breaks, I think we're going all the way up to 568, but we have to hold it or even close above that. If we're bearish, you want to see this basically pump and then dump and lose this white trend line. Let me change the trend line to blue so it's easy for me to distinguish this one. See the blue line right here? It's very thin, but if we close below this blue line, that's going to be a sign of weakness. If we end up getting a big break below this, we'll be dipping all the way down to about the 560 area. And if we lose that, SPY is going to be dipping all the way down into like the 555 area or even below that if we lose 560. So that's our range. Lose 560, we're bearish. Break 565, we're bullish. What do I think is going to happen tomorrow? Well, there's the trend. We kind of pumped, we gapped up and pumped on Thursday, then dumped. Friday, we pumped and dumped. Today, we pumped and then we dumped after Jerome Powell's speech. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking for a pump in the morning. So it's very tricky, guys. I know that people are just like confused, like which way is this market going? It's been all over the place, so you have to understand that we may pump again tomorrow into this resistance, but it's very, very tough resistance at 564 to 565. So the odds favor is kind of dumping back down, maybe consolidating a bit. So I think a pump and dump is coming again tomorrow in some consolidation, and we'll see if this blue line holds at the end of the day. If we lose that, that could be a sign we're about to be coming back down. But look for a pump and dump for tomorrow. That's the most likely possibility. Then we'll see how things go. For Nvda, it's not looking as great as SPY. We have this resistance to watch for at this 129 area. We have support at 127, and this is actually kind of resembling a symmetrical structure with a double top rejection. To me, it looks like we might be retesting this 129 zone. We might reject here and start, dipping down to 127, in my opinion. So I might see a little dip on Nvda, a little pump, and then a dump back down looks very probable. I think this structure is looking a little bit more symmetrical. On top of this, you guys can also see how this kind of resembles like a head and shoulders. I'm not going to count too much on that, but I'm favoring a little pump and dump for the short term, and we'll see what the big move happens to be. Bitcoin is trying to push a little bit higher, but the exact level we call that is 64,500. If that breaks, we're going all the way up towards about 65,000. If you reject here, we're coming all the way back down to 63,500. My gut tells me just like SPY is going to kind of pump a bit, then start dumping back down to 63,500. For a couple more tickers, we also have Tsla. Tesla, in my opinion, is looking a little bit weaker. A little bit weaker. We started off with a nice little pump, and then we started dumping with Jerome Powell's speech, and Tesla continued to fall as time went on. So I think Tesla's going to retest. It kind of likes to pump upon open, then kind of slow down. This is what Tesla's been doing. Let me just show you real quick. So look at the last few days, right? We opened right over here. This was back on Wednesday. Tesla kind of pushed a bit, then it started to dump. And this actually happened like many days in a row. Let me actually go a little further back. Monday, we pumped and dumped. Tuesday, we pumped and started to slow down a bit. Wednesday, we pumped and then dumped. Thursday, we pumped and dumped. Friday, we pumped quite a bit. Then we started to slow down as the day went on. And today, we pumped up in the morning and started dumping as the day went on. So, what's the pattern? We might pump tomorrow morning, look for another attempt to get closer to this like 255 area, and there could be a dump back down to fill this gap all the way down to 248 coming. So that's what the pattern on Tesla. We like to kind of pump in the mornings and start slowing down in the afternoon. And I think that's very probable for tomorrow. For the levels to watch for, if we could try to hold above 260, this could turn a little bit more bullish. And if we end up losing key support, we already lost some key support. If we hold below our 50 EMA at 254, we'll be dumping all the way back down. My gut tells me we'll pump temporarily, then end up losing the 50 EMA and start dumping all the way down to 248. For the QQQ, in my opinion, has a somewhat bearish looking structure. We have a double top like structure right over here. We have resistance all the way up here around this 498 area, and we have this support around 495. So I'll be watching these levels very, very closely. If we lose 495, we'll be tipping all the way down to this imbalance, all the way down towards 492. And we have a bearish divergence that's developing, which makes me a little bit more concerned. Now, look at the QQQ. We have the same pattern as that of Tesla, right? We kind of pumped on Tuesday, then we dumped. Wednesday, we continued to pump. We actually didn't see a dump. Thursday, we pumped and dumped. Friday, we pumped, then dumped. Today, we pumped and then dumped. That's the pattern. We like to pump in the mornings, then dump. That's been happening for the last couple of days. So there's a chance we might pump a little bit higher towards this imbalance at 498. But as long as we fail to crack 500, there's going to be a dump back down towards 495. And if we eventually lose that 495 area, we'll be tipping down to 492. So make sure you watch 500 as resistance. If we break that, we turn bullish. If we lose 495, we turn more bearish. In my opinion, the most likely possibility is we test each of them. We may get very close to 500 again tomorrow and then reject and come back down to 495 for another pump and dump. I find that to be a lot more probable. For Aapl, Aapl has a nice looking uptrend that's being established right over here as we're making higher highs and higher lows. I think that Aapl has a very, very similar trend, and this is what the market's been doing. So go back to Thursday, it pumped in the morning, then it dumped. Look at Friday, we pumped only to dump at the end of the day. Today we pumped all the way up to 238, then we came down and actually closed at 234. So we're going to likely pump again tomorrow. Maybe we'll be testing this resistance around 235.5. If this breaks, we could get close to 237 again. And as long as we fail to break that, if we fail to break this resistance, we'll be dumping back down towards 233. So a pump and dump is looking a lot more probable to me, in my personal opinion. All right, so that's it for the main five I typically talk about when it comes to news and such the most. I'm not going to go through a speed run for the others, like Palantir and the others. Well, let me actually start off with DJT before I actually break the rest of these down. I know a lot of people are watching this right now. So we had a very, very interesting structure. We pumped like crazy, pricing in a lot of news, especially after the news involving former President Trump, only to start dipping down and slowly dropping. So I do see this gap to fill down here around the 31 area. Might pump and then dump back down. So watch for that very, very carefully. Just want to call that out. Lots of volatility on that today, especially because of the news. Going back to Palantir, just like SPY, just like the market, it does have a tendency of kind of like pumping a little bit, especially in the mornings and slowing down. I think tomorrow we're going to be pumping all the way down to this imbalance towards the 29 area. If this rejects, we'll be coming back down towards 28.5. So it might try to pump and dump. We might see a little bit of consolidation as well, but look for that very, very carefully. I think we might push a little bit higher towards this imbalance, and we'll see what kind of move we get from there. For super micro, we're trying to rebound a little bit. We'll be looking for a test of about 906. If this breaks, I think that 920 is going to be coming. So look for a little bit more upside to 906 and eventually 920, and then see if we get a rejection back down. But I do see an attempt to push a little bit higher in the morning before some kind of reaction from there. So look for a little bit of upside, and then we'll see what kind of move we get from there to after we, possibly touch 920. Now, Rivian concerns me a little bit because we're testing this resistance at our 50 EMA. I think we might be retesting 17.66. If we break through that, we could get closer to about 18, maybe come a little bit lower than that. And if we reject off that, we have this imbalance to fall all the way down here towards 16.75. I think we may pop and then drop as the most likely possibility. So I think there may be a pop and drop coming as a very probable move. For SoFi, we're trying to push a little bit higher. Make sure you watch the 7.5 area as potential targets, the big bank earnings are affecting this, and so far they've been a more positive. So the finance sector is actually driving this higher. This tells me that 7.5 is a potential target. SoFi is looking more bullish. Let me actually just pull up the 4-hour time frame just to show you guys this. The 4 hour is looking pretty good for SoFi. If you look at this nice looking structure, might be retesting 7.5. If we break through that, I think we're going all the way up to about 7.68. It looks more bullish to me. For the IWM, Russell 2000, we're looking a little bit more bullish. I like how it's looking in the after hours right now. I think that 218 maybe test if this breaks. We're going up to 220. So I think we might be pushing up for 220 before we see some kind of retracement, depending on how it reacts to that resistance. But overall, it's still looking very, very bullish from this break. Looks like it could be going all the way up to 220 plus. For AMD, looks a little bit weaker on the 4-hour time frame. Watch 179.73 as support. If this fails, we're going to be coming all the way down to 177. And if that fails us, 173.6 is coming. For resistance, make sure you watch 180. If that breaks, look for 182.5. My gut is telling me that this might actually reject right here and start tipping lower, all the way down to about 179.73, then eventually 173.6. So I favor like a little pop and drop like move, and a move back down towards the 177s and 173s. It looks a little bit more bearish in this trend, so watch that very carefully. For Coinbase is breaking out very nicely right here. We have a nice double bottom like structure. This is actually like a triple bottom, and we're actually looking a little bit more bullish to me. I think we might try to push higher for that 250 target. Then we'll see a big reaction there. So look for a little bit more upside as the most likely possibility. We are actually holding above this key trend line right over here. This is actually previous resistance that's now becoming, or previous support becoming resistance. So this is favoring 250. Then we'll see what kind of reaction we get from there. For Amazon, looking a little bit weaker as this trend is more bearish, but I think it's trying to rebound a little bit. We could be looking for a retest of about 195, then we'll see if we get a rejection or not. But overall, look for a little pop and maybe a drop after that. For Meta's on a bit of a downtrend right now. Looks kind of bearish. Make sure you watch resistance around 497. We'll see what kind of reaction we get. If we break through this, I'll be looking for basically 501. If this rejects here, we'll be tipping all the way down towards basically around this is like the 490 area. So I think it may pop a bit, then start dropping to 490. So we'll see what kind of move we make from there. For Microsoft, we have resistance around 457. We also have support all the way down here towards 446. My gut tells me we might retest this resistance. I think we're going to be retesting 457. If that breaks, look for 460. If we reject on 457, we'll be dipping even lower all the way down towards the 450 area. So we'll see which way it goes. But I do see a little pop coming towards the 457 area as resistance, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For Google's pushing a little bit higher. We could be looking for a test of about not just 190, but I think this previous support becoming resistance around 190.5 or so, like that range is going to be tested. So look for a little bit more upside, then we'll see what kind of move we get from there. For GameStop is actually pushing very, very nicely. As you guys can see, we have a nice double bottom like structure. And I think that if we keep pushing, as long as we hold above 27, this imbalance will fill around 27.9. That's going to be our next target. We have a nice double bottom, so this looks a little bit more bullish to me. As long as we're above 25, this is favoring move up to 27.9 for a slow uptrend. AMC is building some momentum. As long as we hold above 5.27, I see this slowly pushing all the way up towards 5.42. That's going to be another very important move. The VIX is looking a little bullish, but here's the thing. But even though it wants to go higher, watch resistance right now. We're approaching this 13.12 area. We'll have to see if we get a rejection or not. This is going to be a tough area to be watching for, so we'll see if we reject or not on the VIX. So just be very careful with that. The 10-year treasury yield is kind of flat. It may dip a little bit, which could be a little bullish for the markets, but not really much. It's very indecisive thanks to Jerome Powell. He didn't really say much. The dollar index is trying to push higher, so watch for 104.39. We'll see what kind of reaction we get. But that's something else that's worth noting. With that being said, guys, the market's in a very, very interesting place. Let me just bring up ES one more time. I kind of skipped over this. We are trying to push a little higher on ES, but just no resistance is tough around this 5,700 area. It's kind of like new territories. So we'll see what kind of move we get from here. Looks like I might push a little bit going into tomorrow, but then we'll see what kind of reaction we get off 5,700. Because just like SPY, it pumped and then dumped, pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped 3-4 times in a row. So we're going to be watching to see if ES does the same thing. That's what's dictating SPY right now. All right, so that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for listening. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one. Have a great day, night, or evening, wherever you guys are around the world. And I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow before the market opens. All right, thanks again, and peace out.